On this week's episode of the Hot Mess Teacher Express, we are talking all about homework. We love a good homework session. Is it necessary? We also bring up homework in America and in the UK. We also highlight some hot or nots and talk about the underdogs. So you're going to want to keep listening. Please keep listening. Please. Please. Welcome to another week on the tracks on the Hot Mess Teacher Express. We always have our very, very wonderful co-host here, Vinny. How you doing?
I'm good. My name is Vinny Thomas, aka Mr. Thomas English, aka the exotic import all the way from England that's currently living in America and gracing this podcast with my presence.
Wow. Thank you for taking the time.
Which brings us on to our first section of this week. We have Hot Take. This is the part of the podcast where we scour the internet and try and find things that teachers are currently talking about, things that they may be snarking about. And we just basically go through our opinions on it. We say whether or not we agree, disagree, and we basically just chat whatever we want, basically. So this week's Hot Take is homework. Is it necessary? I feel like this could vary because obviously you did primary, I did secondary, and I feel like the viewpoint for homework is a little bit different.
Oh, see, my viewpoint is for all. I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
I do not think it's necessary. The last thing that I want to be doing when I get home from school is doing grading work or planning. I just spent 7 hours of my life in school doing that. So why would I want to take home stuff to do that? And why would I want to give these kids stuff to just reiterate what we did? Now, if there is a situation where a child did not understand a concept or they needed a little bit more practice, absolutely, I understand that in those instances, but I'm not just going to give it to give it. I don't think that it's good. And a lot of times these kids have extracurriculars. They're way more busy than I am. They have to go to soccer practice, drama club, all of the things, and they're not getting home until 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah, and I feel like it's different depending on the lens of it as well. Because it's I've seen it where when I go back home to England, I have two nephews that are in school. They're in primary school, and I see my sister picking them up from school, then having to get them prepared to be out of school and get changed, and then suddenly she's like, oh no, we need to do our reading, we need to do our homework and all of this. On top of her trying to make the dinner and all of this, and I'm just I look at it and
I didn't even think about it as a parent.
Yeah, I'm I look at it from the parent's lens, and I'm the amount of stress and pressure that puts on a parent as well. I don't think it's beneficial because it's also a thing of it's nice to be able to teach the concept of you go to school you would go to work, and then you go home and you have work-life balance or school-life balance, and your evening is for you to be a person instead of a machine doing things. And so, yeah, I see it from that lens, and I don't like it because I feel it's just adding more and more stress to both students and parents. And I feel that's where you then get that kind of you get parents being frustrated because they're oh, so now I've got to ride my kids to do all this homework on top of everything else.
Right.
And then you also get teachers that are then stressed out because then they've got to grade the homework that they've set. And it's I notice it's also a thing where if you're in a school where there are certain teachers, especially in a high school, because high school culture is very much oh, well, you have 5, 6 different teachers, and the history teacher gives out homework on XYZ days, but the English teacher doesn't give out enough homework, but then the maths teacher gives out all of the homework. And it's there's that kind of battle of popularity almost into who has the best homework policy, and there's no rigid, this is the policy of the whole school, and everyone's just kind of flying the plane and building it at the same time.
Right.
And what was your homework policy when you taught?
What my first few years of teaching, I definitely did, because that was kind of the culture of the school. Like you had to give homework. I remember putting together spelling packets, like 5 pages for the week, stapling those babies together and sending them home, and I would collect them at the end of the week. Why was I doing that? Why? Did I look at them? No. Did I grade them? No. So like for me, it just came down to a point where like I didn't want to grade this stuff. I also didn't want to prep all of that stuff. And it just got to a point too where the kids were spending a lot of time on homework. Like if I was co-teaching with someone who did give a lot of homework, I was like, I'm not. Yeah. You can do that stuff.
My homework policy, because I taught like high school English, so I think high school's always a different ball game anyway. But mine used to always basically be, you have X amount of lessons. So say there was like an essay that was due.
Yeah.
And I knew for a fact this essay is probably going to take you about 2 lessons, but I'm going to give you a bonus lesson just in case so that you have time to like collaborate, ask questions, do all that. Because I don't want to like put you in a stressful environment where you have to do it and like, you know, creativity and all of that. And then I would say, right, so I'm giving you this assignment on the Monday. You're going to have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday's lesson to do it. The due date's not till Friday at midnight. So at that point, if you have not used the time in lesson and then some, because I've already accounted for extra time just in case, if you have not completed within those set of lessons, your homework is to have that done by that deadline.
Yeah.
And I feel like for me personally as an English teacher, that's what makes sense. I'm like, if I've got assignments where it's overarching and there's things that they need to finish at home, because I'd have students that would say to me flat out, my parents want me to do homework, so I would rather wait till I get home to do this because they're going to tell me you need to have an hour of homework time and have like policies like that.
Oh, okay.
And that's kind of the trade-off. It's also the culture of what is the household like.
Yeah.
And if the household is, we expect you to come home and have an hour dedicated to studying, they're going to be like, well, I would rather just save that work for then and use this time to like, you know, speak to my peers and like find out what I'm doing on this assignment and then do it at home.
Yeah.
So I would just do that because I was like, why would I give you more homework when I'm already chasing people down to do this assignment from last week?
Right.
So yeah, I'm just kind of like, I feel like it's how you use it. And then for me, I feel like doing it in that way, it kind of grows into the expectations of the classroom of your reward for doing your work in class is that you don't have homework.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, right. If you're not going to use your time wisely, then absolutely you are going to have homework, you troll.
Yeah, for me, I'm like, homework's a no. I feel like if you're going to do homework, do it in a way that like supports the learning of the classroom and doesn't give either yourself or your students more work. I'm like, I think work smarter, not harder with this one.
Wow, that was a great little soundbite to end. Nothing more to say on this. This is the segment where we take something in the education field and we compare and contrast British and American and how they handle these different things in school. And it's usually very depressing for Americans, but because okay, so this week we're talking about homework expectations in American and British classrooms.
So I think we just brushed on this quite a lot in the American one anyway. I know for me personally, and this is what's really difficult because I feel like no matter what you do when you're doing something like this, I've not been to every single thousands and thousands of school in America.
No, right,
I've not been to every thousands upon like hundreds upon hundreds of schools in the UK either. So a lot of this is like reflecting on our own personal experiences. But the basic consensus I always got whenever I was in a British school was basically that you give homework so that you're fulfilling that target goal, whatever you may call it, of being like you're administering homework in some way, shape or form, and you're sending it home to your students so that they have that there to supplement their learning. But it was I always got told in the schools that I was at, you cannot use homework in a way that it undermines or disciplines the student because you don't know what their home life will be like. And I know that it's different for each school, but they would be like, you know, like if you're setting a task where they need to go on a computer and they need to do all of this stuff, there are some students that don't have access to computers. So how can you discipline them and how can you make it so that a lesson can't run? The schools that I taught at, there were different policies. One was that you set homework And if they do the homework, it basically just like is like a good mark next to their name. So it's something that you bring up on like parent-teacher conferences.
Okay.
And it's also something that can be used like when you're looking at like sets and stuff. If you have a student that's like, oh, I'm in set 3 and I want to move up to set 2, and they're consistently doing the homework and they're proving that they're improving.
Because it's leveled.
It can
in the
basically
UK.
be used as a way to level up if they want to go into a higher set.
Got you.
So I saw it from that perspective, and then I also saw it from another one where you would set homework and then there would be a part of a lesson where they would respond to feedback from the homework, and if there were students that hadn't done the homework, that's basically when they would do the homework in class as well.
Did you find that the completion of homework was more consistent?
I'd say in both cases, I think it's a very recurring thing, especially in secondary schools where homework is what it is. I feel like it's really hard to get done. I think from my own perception of seeing it, I think homework in primary schools in England is slightly more easier to integrate, and people are more likely to do it because it goes with like the development of a student as they, especially when it's things like they're learning to read, they're learning maths for the first time, where it's like those initial skills where it's like the parent is able to assist them. But I think as it gets harder and as it goes into things that parents may not be as well versed in or as comfortable helping them with, or at the same time could easily get frustrated with, I think that's when the disconnect comes. And I feel like in England, it's quite a thing that once you reach a certain age, parents are like, you are growing into a teenager, a young adult, and you need to do something for yourself. And I'm not here to, you know, helicopter you. Versus in America, it's like, it's the opposite. Like I would have 18-year-old students where the parents would helicopter and be like, what do you mean you're failing my son? And like, in England, you'd be 18. You would not even be in like regular school. You'd be in sixth form or advanced levels. Like, I could not imagine my dad going in at 18 years old and cussing out my teacher for failing me. He would be like, you're 18. You're an adult. Like, get over it. Like, yeah. So I feel like it goes into that. A lot of it, I think, bleeds into just like the different cultures and different parenting styles of England and America.
Yeah. You know, in America, I think there is like this expectation to almost spoon feed the children and not I'm finding that a lot of kids have a trouble problem solving or just solving any minor inconvenience in general.
But it's like I said, I have not been to every single school in England. And like I've done a video on this before, and there are people in England that are like, it's not like that. And I'm like, well, it was like that for every school I've been to. So I'm sorry that your school's a little bit more strict. But yeah, I definitely feel like I feel like it goes more into like what is the culture of the country itself, and that bleeds into the homework and how your student's life outside of school is impacted.
Right.
Which brings us to our next section, Hot or Not, the part of the show where we go over different topics that we think are hot, which means good, and not, which is bad, just in case you were unaware. So, our first topic for this week is uninterrupted prep time.
Woo! Hot.
Oh,
hot.
Smoking in here. You were red for a reason.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. There is nothing better than an uninterrupted prep period. I cannot tell you. Do I get a lot done? No, but
do you know what is better than an uninterrupted prep period? A prep period that is literally back to back with lunch, especially on a day where you.
So right, yes.
When you like merge them together, because I was always like, if my prep period was before lunch, I would eat my lunch in my prep, and then I would be able to just get stuff done, or I would like power through into my lunch, then eat. But I would be like, right, I've got like an hour prep plus a 40-minute lunch. Okay, an hour and 40 minutes, which in the teacher realm is unheard of. So.
No, like now that you're bringing that up, I remember this one year I was teaching 3rd grade, and I had 2 preps in one day because of the unified art schedule. So I had a prep, lunch. I had to do recess duty, but that's fine because then the next period was prep again. It was amazing. It was amazing.
I feel like there's a lot of debate about what the best prep is. And I'm like, personally, if I had first prep, I'd always be late. And if I had last prep, I feel like I would switch off before the day's even over.
Yeah, right. So it's smack dab in the middle. Nice little... It's like, if I can just get to 10:30,
yeah,
I'll be fine. Oh,
So yeah, uninterrupted prep periods. It's a
hot.
Which brings us on to our next topic for hot or not. Students or parents asking for next week's work because they're going on vacation.
It's a not. No. If you are going on vacation in the middle of the school year, like not during a break, why? No. Just enjoy your vacation. You're taking it for a reason.
It's when they ask you in the middle of you instructing on what they're about to do in that lesson right at the start, and you're like, right, I'm focused, I'm going to do this. And they're asking you, you're like, I don't even know what I'm teaching in 3 seconds.
No.
Next week.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about what a disorganized hot mess I am in the classroom. Could I put together a bunch of work for a week?
Well, and how I used to do it when I was like planning for English, I would do it where I'd be like, right, I'm going to pre-plan the entire next week of like freshman, junior English. I'm going to plan it out so it's all there. But then no doubt you would have it where there'd be a random fire drill, or you would have it where there's a random trip and half your class isn't there. Or, you know, you give them a task and then it suddenly takes 2 lessons to do something that you planned 1. So I would always plan a week with the intention in my mind of, I've planned a week, but this is probably going to be more like a week and some change, maybe a week and a day, week and 2 days. So it's like, yeah, I know what I'm doing next week, but I don't want to give it to you because you could do it and then you could be 2 weeks ahead. And now I've got a student just sat there doing nothing for 2 weeks.
Right. And then it's usually me playing catch up with that student once they come back too.
Or they do it, or they do the work, but they do the work wrong. And then you've got to be like, right, you've done this wrong because you didn't get what I was trying to do.
Yeah, and especially in elementary school, like where we're teaching new concepts all the time. Like math was a new concept every single day. No, I can't.
Yeah, like for English, it would literally be like, we're going to be reading this chapter or these 2 chapters next week. Just read the book.
Right. Just read the book and come back.
Read the book, do the quizzes online. That's all I need from you. Like,
it's a not.
Yeah.
Don't ask me for your child's work a week ahead of time. Don't do it. Segment is Grind Our Gears, which is a horrifying segment for me where we rant for 30 seconds about a topic that really, really annoys us. So please join along with us. You can do this wherever you need to, in a closet, in a car, in a bathroom mirror. I don't care. Ranting is good for the soul. You will have 30 seconds to rant about people that don't signal before changing lanes. And go.
People that do not signal when they change lanes. Do you know what these people are called? Americans. Because you do not get taught how to drive properly because you're like, oh, I can just sue people. It's fine. We got insurance over here. Meanwhile, in England, people signal because the cops are on the street. There are cameras on the street. They will find you. They will fine you. Whereas here it's like, oh, I don't need to care, man. I can just signal over 5 lanes and just cut someone up. Oh, what? I just run over an old lady. That's fine. Sue me. I don't care. I'm free to just signal where I please. Zigzagging across lanes as well. Always speeding up, and it's always the biggest trucks as well. Trucks. Americans cannot drive. I know this for a fact.
You're 30 seconds
when
done.
When I got my license here, I paid once to have free tests. I know this because I failed the first 2. In England, you have to pay for the theory each time. You have to pay for the practical. You have to have X amount of lessons. You have to have an instructor refer you to take the test before you're allowed to take the test. Whereas here, they're just like, you got a car and a free will? Go for it, my friend.
It's America.
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 Okay, well, I feel better after that.
You should.
So, Jess, are you ready?
Yeah. No. But yes.
Yes, no, maybe. Jess, your topic for this week is people who don't put their shopping carts back. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. This is probably the rudest and laziest thing that you can choose to do. Once you finish taking out your groceries from the cart, putting it in your car, and you have the audacity to think that you can just leave that cart in between cars in the parking lot. No, that's not the way that it works. They have little places. They have little pins for you to put your carts back. It's not that hard. Take the 10 steps, you...
I can tell you got really heated. You almost cussed.
I hate it. I really do. I don't know why.
Mine is when someone puts it literally at the start of a car park space. So you go to pull in, you're like, oh, sweet, there's a space.
Yes,
and
that's what I'm talking about.
My worst is when someone parks and they've parked in a space where the car is basically at, and because they don't want the car to hit their car, they push it closer to your car.
In New Hampshire, where it snows, I would watch people while it's like snowing. The weather's not great, okay? But if you don't like the snow, stay home. And they would push their shopping carts into the snowbank because they didn't want to walk across to put it back. I'm like, no, that's because someone has to get it. That one actually felt good. I'm not going to lie.
I was going to say, you almost cussed out someone. This now brings us on to our final segment of the week. It is Underdogs in education. So this is the part of the show where we just highlight people in education in different forms, ways. Sometimes we share our stories. This is just the part of the show where we get to just give a shout out to certain people in education that we think go unappreciated at times, which for education is most people in every single way, shape, or form.
There's a lot to choose from.
So yeah, this week our underdogs are parents of IEP or 504 students.
This is a very, very special parent to me. And these parents are usually the most involved. There's extra meetings that they have to go to and extra sessions that they have to do and commit to for their child to be successful. And they're really, I think, the parents that understand that what we're doing in school is a team effort. And especially when I was in an IEP meeting, it was always felt like it was a team effort. Yeah. I was very rarely a part of an IEP meeting where it was like the parent attacking any of the educators. So these parents absolutely deserve a shout out for the commitment that they have for their child to be successful in any way that they can.
The education system is broken as is, and I think with that there are so many issues that still need to be fixed with like IEP 504 and like just accessibility as a whole, that I think like, you know, parenting is hard in and of itself, but then parenting like a child and a student that has like a need that needs to be met, and like the frustration of schools not doing that and having to fight for it. Like I see so many stories all the time, like parents that have had to like take their kids out of schools, or like even from myself, from my own experiences, I remember going to IEP meetings where literally like the parents would cry and be like, thank you so much for actually helping me, because I went to X school, X district, and they just wrote me off and didn't care about what I had to say.
Right.
And I think, it takes a lot to be able to do that and to show up and to just constantly try and do what's best for your child at all times. So I really think that they deserve so much like respect, and like literally I could not even imagine, and they work so hard and they want their child to be successful, and I think it's just such a great thing.
Yeah, me too.
Which brings us to the end of our show today. Thank you so much for watching. Please follow us on all social media platforms. Is there anything you'd like to add, Jess?
You're just taking over?
Yeah, she messed it up. Okay, well, have a nice day. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.